Animal testing for cosmetic purposes has single-handedly become one of the most disastrous contributions to our society and our government policy. Animal testing is detrimental to our society due to the unethical procedures, the costly research, and the faulty results that happen a majority of the time. These procedures cause immense trauma to the animals that are tested on, and this is only if they survive the very tests that are being used. Millions of animals are sentenced to death in vain, as a majority of these results are found faulty after further research. Cruelty Free International found that in 2015 alone, at least 192 million animals in 1 year were murdered in order to make the very cosmetic products that you and I use on a daily basis. The United States federal government should only sell cruelty-free cosmetics from here on. The federal government of the United States is made up of 3 branches that govern our nation's laws and our citizens and their conduct. Cruelty-free cosmetics are the very products that I am talking about, which completely prohibit animal testing throughout the development and sale of the product. By only allowing purchasing of cruelty-free cosmetics in the United States, our society will benefit on an ethical, safety, and economical scale. By acknowledging the true damages of cosmetic products tested on animals, we must take the first steps that are necessary in order to banning their purchase as a whole in the United States. Cosmetic products tested on animals are completely inhumane and impractical. Banning animal testing on cosmetic products will stop inhumane practices in our cosmetic industry. As mentioned in the National Library of Medicine, these animals being tested on are forced into artificial surroundings, windowless rooms, and tight cages where they spend a majority of their lives without ever feeling grass or the sun touching them. They end up dying in these same environments that they were born into. In an article by the World Animal Foundation, they addressed the LD50 test. This has risen in popularity due to the extremely cruel and barbaric practices that are being used in these testing procedures. Animals are strapped down with tubes directly pressed into their stomachs, where they have chemicals constantly pumping into their system for weeks on end. During their final weeks of life, they suffer seizures, diarrhea, bleeding, and eventually paralysis before their untimely death, which is actually in one sense a relief to them. Cruelty Free International found that the LD50 testing increased by 8%. This means that from 2021, there was 11,758 animals who suffered from the LD50 experiment, and in 2022, this increased to 12,561 animals who suffered and died due to the LD50 test. Animal testing is barbaric and completely outdated on so many scales. Animals experience pain, loneliness, and fear just like we do, and it has been researched and proven. Baby monkeys have been torn from their mothers in order to understand how children experience loneliness and fear when torn from their mothers. The same has been done to rabbits, who have chemicals dripped into their eyes and experience the same fear and pain that humans do, but we must study it further to understand. There is no end to their torture, and there is no end to our inhumane practices when we keep on using these procedures. These testings discard lives, funding, and resources for improper and completely faulty results a majority of the time. Death becomes their relief. We claim to be the most intelligent species on planet Earth, but for this to be true, we must end the unwarranted use of animals as test subjects to save their lives and our humanity. Cosmetic products approved through animal testing are a direct threat to human safety and human consumers as a whole. Not using animal test subjects will increase the accuracy and reliability of medical research on a worldwide scale. In another article by the World Animal Foundation, researchers exposed the true results of a drug called Vioxx. Vioxx was created in order to treat arthritis patients, and after a few clinical trials and testing on animals, they found that it was approved and given to the public. 320,000 heart attack and stroke victims later proved that all these tests were done in vain. 140,000 people died of Vioxx, and this is just on top of the countless animals that sacrificed their lives in order to get these results that ended up killing more lives than saving. Humane Society International emphasizes that more than 90% of promising compounds fail when they are tested on human patients. An article by NPR further explains this, as they say, as we develop as humans, so do the very animals we test on. making the results of our clinical trials much more unreliable and faulty as we are growing and so do the animals we test on, meaning that the results will not be the same. Immense amounts of research, time, and money, and lives, most importantly, are wasted on these experiments with very bleak results. Many health organizations have found that 90% of approved tests were found faulty after more research. The bodily systems of animals and humans will never be exactly the same, no matter how similar they may seem. Aspirin, for example, which we all know and love, and I myself have used on a daily basis before, was found to be highly toxic to the very animals that we test on. We must change our focus from animals to alternative testing methods. The cause of harm is both structural and attitudinal. Citizens only want products that have been proven to be tested on and medically safe. And this is the same with our government, who can only sell and approve products that have been medically proven to be safe for our consumers. Stanford argues that this testing is approved by the population because people see animal testing as the closest thing that we can get before humans are used as test subjects. PETA acknowledges that government regulations in many countries require toxicity tests on the very animals used in research labs in order to approve the use of chemicals in their products, such as pesticides or mascara and makeup. In an article by Briticana, they expose that the United States is very behind other countries, such as the EU, India, and Israel, which has all banned cosmetic product testing on animals. These inhumane practices are normalized by the brands that profit off of the use of animals to furtherly promote and use their products. We need to change people's attitude towards these cosmetic testings, as well as the government's policies towards alternatives. This must be done to ensure the safety and the morals and ethics of our society as a whole. These changes must be made through the power of the people for the well-being of all people, or all beings in our society. For this to be successful, we must call to the U.S. Public Health, the FDA, and the CDC in order to enact compromises with the very companies that we need to ban their use of animals. These branches of government would furtherly terminate the loophole these companies use of selling products in countries where testing is mandatory, making their products animal tested even though it is not done in the United States. They would outlaw the sales of these companies' products in the U.S. entirely. Enforcement by banning the sale of these products would also fine stores that refuse to sell their products or refuse to stop selling their products. This plan would be successful as these companies need and thrive off of the U.S. consumer market, meaning that when we take this away, there will be serious change implemented in order to keep the U.S. consumer market as a whole. Many organizations fund these cruelty-free movements and policies, so funding would not be an issue when it comes to implementing this new change and this new plan to stop animal testing. Another vital advantage is the safety as our public. As we use alternative testing with more reliable results, the U.S. federal government should only sell cruelty-free products. I affirm that these should be the only cosmetics permitted in the state or permitted in the nations for sale due to the ethical and safety benefits overall. Animal testing is outdated, as are millions of animals who are exterminated without improving safety and quality of the very products we use. Don't let these barbaric cosmetic companies you know all too well win any longer. Say no to L'Oreal, Maybelline, Estee Lauder, Benefit, and NARS. Is your mascara truly worth another animal's life at the end of the day? Thank you.